4, verse 1 to 10 was what we consider. And in considering this, we coined the topic, as the world suffers, has your view of your neighbor changed? As the world suffers, has your view of your neighbor changed? A lot of the things we do on this earth depend on the interpersonal relationship between you and your neighbor, between one another. Scarcely will you say this person is the cause of the problem. You have to also check yourself. And that process is very important for the future, individual futures, and for the future of the world in general. And in looking at these, we see that there are so many terrible things that have marked human history. Of course, we experience so many terrible things in our lives today, including war and so many sorts of conflicts that bring along with them many terrible things within society. And one of those things is the culture of cannibalism, which is the worst of things that any human being can be involved in. But it has happened in human history, probably still happens today. I was watching a video online about a place somewhere in Africa that is known for that. And there have been stories even in the Bible that tell us about cannibalism for the sake of hunger, of suffering, of poverty. Those are some of the things that are happening in human society. But these are not human traits. That is the thing that we must understand. These are not human traits. That is where the line is drawn between other creatures and humanity. And that is why the Bible has different. Even atheists do not believe that human beings are gods in terms of small g, okay? But the Bible says ye are what? Gods, okay? Sons of the living God. Now, it is difficult since the Bible itself says we should not blaspheme God by calling ourselves gods, okay? But itself, it says we are gods. So what is the issue there? And Christianity is one of the few religions, world religions, that has this worldview within it. Because human beings are made in the image of God again, okay? So you can have those two, in fact, 3 scriptures. Another scripture says what? We are priests, okay? We are priests. So this is the thing, especially the church, when talking about the church. So the issue is that a culture like cannibalism cannot be a human what? Trait. It is one of the things that sets us apart, that human beings will not embark, should not embark on such an activity. Animals, though, and other organisms may freely engage in that. Okay? Cannibalism, especially the carnivorous animals, okay? And they are, because they are lower organisms, okay? They behave just like things. Before the world is created, there's always what you call a chemical reaction, okay? And those chemicals interact with each other by burning, a burning process, okay? Which is eating one, either eating the other, okay? Or something, a similar process. And so when they became the higher version of that, according to scientists, they say they evolved to become now biological or what organisms. They started also eating one another, okay, to progress. So the process of life itself entails that one thing will consume the other, in order for it to become bigger and better. Okay. But when the step goes up and the organisms become more complicated, okay, it is expected that that culture changes, the eating habits change, okay, and you begin to categorize them to different ones. And human beings are at the top of that chain, that food chain, okay. But we can eat other animals, we can eat plants, but we cannot eat our what? Selves. We cannot eat ourselves. So, and why is this? Like I said, the animals and plants are just a step higher than things, inanimate things, okay? Things that are not alive. And because they are a step higher, they are created just for utilitarian purposes. Okay? Utilitarian purposes. They are just for God to use to do something. Okay? You use a lawnmower to mow the grass. God will use a cow or a wildebeest or a buffalo, okay, to cut the grass. When the grass becomes too big for God to cut and becomes a tree, what does God use? An elephant. Okay? And it's an elephant that can now cut the tree and consume it. Okay? So God has deliberately made these things just for utilitarian purposes. And so he has now categorized such animals into herbivores, next, carnivores, and omnivores. Okay? Scientists have categorized what they have observed, okay, going on. Herbivores only consume the grasses, okay. Carnivores consume, their main duty is to reduce the number of herbivores. Herbivores are normally in very large numbers, and so they have a tendency to do too much, to eat too much, okay, to consume too much. And so it's the job of the carnivores to now reduce their number to keep them in a manageable level. Omnivores, on the other hand, are trash collectors, okay? They clean the environment. Many of them are. And some carnivores too are trash collectors, okay? Some carnivores like hyenas, vultures, okay? They also clean the environment. So, but omnivores play that very important role. They can eat anything, okay? Things that fall on the ground, rotten, you know? So, and insects are also important in consuming some of the smaller organisms that maybe we might not see easily, okay? So all these organisms, and you see them based on their different sizes, even in the air we breathe, they are small what? Organisms, okay? They are organisms. So everything is here on earth to fulfill a purpose. And that purpose is called what? The ecosystem. And scientists have discovered this ecosystem to function in a balanced way, okay? It's like a great massive machine that works in a cyclical way, okay? Everything has its use. And that interaction, that symbiosis of all these different organisms that live in this ecosystem, okay, creates that stable environment where life thrives. So if one of these organisms is not there, you find that there will be an imbalance, okay? And there are millions of those organisms, animals, plants, and all that in this ecosystem. And one thing that you will discover is that actually, if human beings were not on this earth, there won't be any major impact, okay? Because we are easily replaceable. Why? It's just like if cows suddenly disappear, what will you have? You will have wildebeest, you have elands, okay? You have deers, okay? So if we were to disappear, chimpanzees would thrive. Baboons would thrive. Different species of baboons. Gorillas, okay, would thrive. So we are not necessarily important for the ecosystem to thrive, okay? We are not necessarily important. If we leave this planet, we are not. And that is the secret, one of the secrets to discovering the real purpose of what? Human beings. Okay? And when you discover this, you will know why we are here. Okay? You will know why we are here. And we are here to fulfill a greater purpose. Okay? A greater purpose than just eating and pooing like other animals. Animals eat and they poo, and that encourages the cycle of what? Life. Okay? And when they die, of course, their bodies go into the earth, and of course that also encourages the cycle of life. Okay? But we have a greater purpose. Okay? We have a greater purpose. And when you understand this, when you discover that we are not really necessary, you will wondering, so why are we here? And we've become so successful, okay, that we affect the world more than any other animal. Okay? Like elephants. One of the animals that really affects the world are elephants. If they were a very large number, yeah, the forests will be devastated. Because when they march through a forest, you will see their mark. They will leave a mark, and they normally eat the forest. So they have to always be at a manageable number. Okay, that is one of the secrets to why the dinosaurs were extinct, because they lived at a time where, of course, the earth was really dense. Okay, with large forests. So those mighty, their size, they were so big. Okay, and they fed on the forests. They fed on other bigger animals. Okay. So they really affect the world. Now that they are not here, we have replaced them. Okay? So we are now affecting the world just like they affected the world. But they were not smart like us, so they couldn't build buildings. Okay? They only consumed other animals. But we affect the world differently. So that is the secret to knowing what human purpose is. Okay? Apart from the salvation story, which seems sometimes to be more spiritual, even an atheist can know the purpose of humanity if he studies that, okay, and he takes it seriously. So next slide. So we are what we are, human beings. We are what we are. And what we are is that we are creative. We are religious. We are explorers. We are exploitative, okay, of the natural resources. Not only to consume, but to build, okay, and to create technology. And we are what? Ambitious, okay? We are ambitious. Why? Because we are intelligent. You can put intelligence there, but you don't need to. These all will describe the fact that we are intelligent, okay? So we are ambitious, creative, religious, explorers, exploitative of natural resources, and ambitious. Not being what we are will relegate us to being just apes, okay? Just apes. If we are not what we are in all these ways, we are just apes. Pick a gorilla, put a human being, what's the difference? Only the hair that covers, okay? And the fact that we stand straight and they would normally go down on their forms, okay? But they can stand straight too, once in a while. And there are so many of them that are so strong. If you were to enter a wrestling match with an ape now, it will deal with you. And it has teeth, very sharp teeth, like a lion. Okay? So it will deal with you. They are stronger than us. But because we are intelligent, we have what? Succeeded, and they have regressed because of our success. Okay? They have regressed because definitely that clash of civilization. Okay? When we meet them, we are afraid of them, so we kill them. Okay? If not, they will kill us. So naturally, they have regressed. We have what? Succeeded, okay? We have proliferated the earth. Next slide. And this is where some of the problems come. Some of us feel guilty about that, especially modern human beings, okay? We feel guilty that we are human beings. Yes, it's okay to feel guilty if you have over-destroyed some animals, okay? Because they too have a stake in the world that God has created. But never feel guilty that you are a human being, okay? You are created with a purpose. And that is the problem between an atheist and a Christian. An atheist might come and feel guilty that he is alive, and he might start thinking of how he can regress or stop being alive so that other animals will progress. That is the key ingredient of reason, okay, that the Bible helps us to have. And when you keep on studying the Bible, you keep on being exposed to the difference between a believer. Not just, most of us think that being a Christian is this pietistic person who comes to church and he involved in some religious ritual, okay? But the real advantage is hidden in purpose, the purpose of being alive. When you are a Christian, you really understand the purpose of life, of being a human being. You really understand it. And that is just the difference. What marks us up. Okay? And sinfulness or sin is the only thing we should be guilty about. When we overdo what we do, even to one another, okay? We should, as human beings, we should be better than animals, because animals will just kill the other animal. I've watched videos where a chimpanzee he took over the herd of chimpanzees, okay, by beating off the other chimpanzee and killed that one, and they actually ate him. The one he killed, okay, they actually ate it, and they caught the babies of that one that were still small, okay, and ate them. Okay, so this is the natural tendency of an animal. An animal is an animal, okay? This is the natural tendency of an animal. But a human being will not and should not do that, okay? A human being should not do that. And so, this is the only thing that we should be guilty about when sin enters our life and makes us to begin to do that, okay? When sin, that is the only thing we should be guilty about. We shouldn't be guilty of being human beings, of being progressive. Next slide. So, if you want to live a successful Christian life, you must be able to distinguish, okay, between this, so that you do not be derailed from your purpose into excessive naturalism. So some people are just about herbs. These herbs you go to the bush to pluck. That is all. Miracle. That is naturalism. Okay? And it's part of the mysticism. Mysticism also is just about how miracles can come down. And this is what makes us so dependent on the world system. We condemn the world and then we are so dependent on it. Is that not a contradiction? And that is what creates that is the excess of naturalism, the excess of mysticism, and sometimes pietistic minimalism. Because you are guilty that you are rich, so why should I be human being and rich while animals are suffering? What I have discovered is, as being a Christian makes me more appreciative of nature, okay? I love to see animals. I love that they prosper, okay? But I don't now become guilty that I'm human, so I should reduce my number by killing myself so that animals will progress. No, that is not what God wants for us, okay? That is not what God wants for us. Next slide. So what is at stake? How can you really fulfill your purpose as a human being? The foundation, and most of us don't know that. We think about, shooting rockets. It's part of it. We're going to the moon, we're going to space, great. You think about how being an engineer, being a doctor, being whoever it is, okay? That's all we think about, purpose. But what is really at stake is how we see each other, our relationship with one another. That somebody, because of, I can't now take over my pride, and in the process of taking over my pride, I kill my neighbor and I eat him and his children. That is the difference. That is the difference. That is the difference. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's the beginning of the whole thing that makes us to now begin to think about wearing clothes and doing things differently and doing the technology. Because we don't live like that. We don't. How do we see each other, our neighbors? Okay? And when we understand that, we are only useful to ourselves, humanity. Humanity can never be so useful to animals. Because they can survive on their own. Okay? And they are the main engine of the world. They are the main engine of the world to keep the world natural, aesthetic, and functioning and nurturing life. We are just here as an addendum because we have a different what? Purpose, okay? Our purpose is different. So if we understand this, we will begin to see each other with more value. Okay? And that is the secret of the whole thing. When we see each other with more value, we will stop killing one another, we will stop destroying one another. Next slide. Okay? Like the animals do very freely. They do that very freely because they have rules that govern how they do it and what they do. Okay? They don't need to have any technology, they don't need it. That is all they do. So the inroad of relativism has given rise to people learning to live like animals. So they are transferring animal society, things that animals do, into human society. Because of course God created us. Most of our tribes do that. Because of the lack of the knowledge, the know-how to innovate, we copy from what we see God has done. Innovation itself is mainly copying what God has done. But we sometimes copy the negative one, okay? And we want to live like animals. Let's see. And in the modern society, it is still happening in the name of, being sympathetic to the dying ecosystem that we feel that we have destroyed. But Jesus gives us the secret to how we can really save the world. It's in Matthew 18, verse 12 to 20, okay? He says what? The shepherd of the sheep will leave, if he has 100 sheep and one gets lost, okay? He will leave that 99 that are still there and he will go after the one. Because every human being is important. The Jewish society was a society that depended a lot on shepherding, okay? Herding sheep. Their sheep was their mainstay. Even though they were involved in agriculture, in farming, it was not as important, okay, as herding sheep. And so that's why Jesus was using that example. They were so jealous as the way the Fulani people guard their cows. That's how the Jews were, and sometimes still are, some still are. And so he says, look, the way God is that he will go after that one person. He finds that one person very important, that one person that does not know, that has left his flock. Okay? He is interested in the one sheep among the 100. Next one. So we see in Genesis 3, verse 9, verse 3 to 7, the laws that he promulgated to stop animals, not only human beings, but animals, from killing human beings. Because that was the time when human beings didn't really have matter. They didn't even have matter, okay? That much. And so could not really defend themselves from wild animals. And there were more wild animals then than now. There was a law against animals killing human beings. And human beings killing each other. Right from Genesis chapter 9. And it continued to Exodus 20. Okay? And we discover that even the worship of what? Idols is not really that God is jealous. I used to wonder, is God jealous of, how can God be jealous of an inanimate object? Are you listening? The only thing is that he can be jealous. He can be jealous of a demon. Okay. How can you worship my what? My subordinate? But he can never be jealous of an inanimate object, something you do, like the golden calf, for instance, a cow. You know, what he really wants you not to do is to relegate yourself to worshiping something that is beneath you. That is the secret of that. Because you are created in his what? Image. You understand? So this is the real secret of it. And you see it in the number 2 law that says what? Don't worship anything, the likeness of anything above or what? Below. Okay? Don't worship anything above. Because they say what? Heaven and the other law that says do not swear in the name of God. Because heaven is what? God's throne and earth is footstool. So you see also in Exodus 21 the laws on what governs murder. Okay? Never kill another human being. Okay? Even your slaves, you cannot injure your slave. That was that law. You can't even injure your slave. It was against the law. You can't even hunt down a person, okay, to kidnap in the name of making that person a slave. So anybody that tells you that the Jews encourage slavery, tell him to go and read again, okay? That the God of the Bible encourages slavery. Go on. You can't kidnap another person in the name of trying to make that person a slave. It is punishable by what? Death. By death. In the Old Testament. So Exodus 21, 17 to 36 continues with that. Next slide. So all these scriptures that we have looked at build on the foundation for the importance of God and that God himself places on human beings, okay? And on life in general. And we see also in Mathew 23, verse 1 to 5, okay? Also building on that in Matthew 26, verse 52. Okay? That issue of saying what? Do not, anybody that kills by the sword, lives by the sword, what? Dies by the sword. The use of war as a means of provision is not what God intended. Okay? The war should never be a means of providing for yourself or for your family. That is not God's will. Okay? That is not God's will. And Jesus denounces the sword as a means of survival. You can see that. So we go back to Jeremiah 24. Jeremiah 24 in general actually shows that God has not abandoned Judah and Israel, even though he was punishing them. His desire was for them to learn, okay? For them to learn. So human society is an advanced society that must create one form of civilization, okay? Or the other. And God is interested in us progressing, okay? And that foundation is that, and we see that very well in Jeremiah 24. God is interested in every one single what? Person. He's interested. Sometimes we think that we are so interested in dividing ourselves. We say, me against that other one. And some of the people that I was also listening to a testimony of somebody who has left Christianity. And one of his complaints was, the issue with them was that they were always, they had this idea of we against them. And this is the problem we have in modern day Christianity. The issue of we against them. This is not what God created, okay? We always want to argue out some doctrine in the Bible and to separate ourselves from another person. We are the ones that God has chosen based on the doctrine that we have created in the Bible. Okay, but that is not God's will. Okay? He wants us to be together. One single what? Entity, because we are all important. In Jeremiah 24, we find that some were taken to captivity, others remained. So those who remained were feeling that they were special. But God was telling them, no, I tell you the truth, if you don't obey me, I will prosper those ones, and you I will kill. I will make sure that your enemy will kill you. And that is what happened. So the issue is not about we against them. It is about what? Seeing what God is seeing. Okay? That his desire for us is pure, and he finds each and every one of us as important. And we discover that this is the secret that we feel we admire Western civilization, because they place a lot of importance on every citizen. Okay? That is why Western civilization has progressed, because they find every citizen as what? Important. But where did they really get it? They got it from Christ. Okay? From Christ. That is where they got it. If they go to war, they die because they want to protect that other one that is not on the battlefield. Okay? Or the next one that is on the battlefield. And that's how they progressed. Because Jesus had given them that example. Okay? He gave them that example. So it is not a Western creation, it is a Christian understanding about what Jesus or who Jesus is. Okay? Love for one another, love for our neighbors. This is the secret to human progress. Okay? Human civilization progressing. And that's the secret to civilization itself. And what makes us human beings. Okay? As different from the animal kingdom. So this is what we saw. And we're going to end here today's